Good afternoon, everybody. Just a quick reminder that we'll be starting flying in about 10 minutes' time. It's a little bit cloudier than it has the last 2 days, but it's very high and visibility is fantastic. So we're expecting a full flying display. And just a reminder, before we do get that underway, please be cautious about wherever you're putting tables and chairs up and things like that. Please make sure all the walkways are clear. You can see, if you are joining us for the first time today, that there have been extensive works going along the seafront. And if you please keep all those passageways as clear as possible to allow people to move backwards and forwards during the show. We've got a good selection, a really good cross-section of aircraft for you this afternoon, flying all the way through till just after 4 o'clock. We will be taking a bit of a tea break in the middle of that to give you a chance to stretch your legs and look after the kids and so on and so forth. And a reminder that even though we've got cloud about, the sun is intensely strong this time of year, so please make sure the children are wearing hats and got plenty of sunscreen, and of course keep hydrated throughout the course of the afternoon. Please refrain from flying anything, whatever it might be, a balloon, a kite, and definitely not a drone, please. If you get a drone out of a box, there's a good chance you'll be arrested, and that is illegal during the course of any flying activity. Please put it back in the boot of your car. And we're aiming to have a very enjoyable, safe afternoon, and as you've already spotted, lots of things on the green to go and enjoy. There'll be music interspersed at all the gaps in the flying display. And a cracking evening last night, a very great festival atmosphere here for the seafront, with particularly with Tutor tribe there, really getting everybody up and in, having a super evening with a beautiful, beautiful sunset. So we're hoping to do the same this afternoon. 2 sessions basically, from 1 right through till about 2:15, and then from 3 o'clock through till around 4:15 or so. So I'll get back to you very shortly. We're expecting to start this afternoon with an aircraft from the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight at 1 o'clock. Well, I'm very sad to tell you that just we're about to start. The pilot from the BBMF has just reported there is a snag with the hurricane this morning, so he's just gone back to Exeter to investigate that a little bit further. So there will now be a short delay in getting the show on the road. Next up, we'll have the Wingwalkers, so it's possible we may bring them forward a little bit, but I'll give you as much information as I can when I get it. Well, just a little update for you. We've just heard back from the airport, and they're just investigating an engine issue with the Hurricane right now. If we can get that sorted, we'll bring him in during the course of what was going to be the break a little later on in the afternoon. Otherwise, we'll aim for now a restart with the Wingwalkers. And what a fabulous way to start this third day of the English Riviera Airshow as well. So that'll be at around about 20 past. So just around 15 minutes time. Thank you. Well, the good news is we've now got some aircraft on the airwaves. They'll be coming in about 10 minutes' time. And that'll be a start now with the Aerosuperbatics. Fabulous way to get the day started. Just a reminder, please, to look after all your belongings throughout the course of the afternoon. Of course, that includes all the children and grandparents as well. Make sure they're safe and secure. If you do have any issues of any nature or are concerned about something you see, then just speak to any of the friendly event staff. They'll either be in the Torbay red T-shirts or in yellow jackets around the site. And there is a very useful information tent on the pier approach, right in the middle of the two yellow and pink zones. Okay, they've got event staff there ready to take your inquiries, and indeed that's also both the medical point and also the lost and found as well. So that's right in the centre of the showground area between the yellow and pink zone on pier approach. And on behalf of Torbay Kent, I'd like to take a moment to thank all the sponsors and partners who've supported the council in putting this event on. It's been a fantastic day and a half already, and hopefully we'll set sail now for a super afternoon as well. But joined with the English Riviera Bid Company, the guardian of the English Riviera brand, and a focus on attracting yet more all year round visitors to the bay, alongside Big Wave Media, a marketing agency working closely with the Southwest-based organisations to provide employment and workplace opportunities. And main sponsors, Barnes Aerospace, Great Western Railway and Speedwell Kia around the place. Also a little nod to Torbay Gin there for producing their limited edition, and a cracking label from Sabotage as well, all local involvement. But on the ground, you hopefully have already seen plenty of activities there. The military village, a great opportunity to take the youngsters, go and talk to the crews, soldiers, sailors and airmen from the services, and talk about their careers and opportunities there. Typhoon Simulator, have a go on that. Of course, the fun fair, and a large array of caterers and Bayes Brewery, and a lot of really good street foods. There is also music throughout the course of the afternoon, interspersed by the aircraft, of course. At the break this afternoon, we will see True Foxes and listen to them. And then when air aviation and the display finishes, we've got the Mafia 4. So that's all on stage. So I hear a lot of chit-chat going on behind me, which is all good news. So belt up and get yourselves ready. Get those teas and coffees sorted and the children happy. And we'll get flying in just a few minutes' time. Well, we're setting the scene now for the first air display of the afternoon. Just a couple of minutes till they run in, but you may hear the roar of some fantastic engines in the skies just to the north and behind us. Because we're going to go back in time to the era of barnstormers and the heyday of aviation for many generations back in the 30s and 40s. And it's a very exciting maneuver. We only had one aircraft yesterday, but today we've got the correct pair back with us. And they'll be doing daredevil things, going upside down, inside out, and carrying the girls on top on the wing as well, all at the same time. This particular outfit was first founded in 1984 by Vic Norman, but its history of this activity really goes back to around about 1918, after the First World War. The current aircraft and pilots and staff and wingwalkers, they're all professionals from Aerosuperbatics, have performed in well over 20 countries and regular visitors throughout Europe, Asia and the Middle East. You may well recall some of them if you're an airshow fan and have been coming for many years, previously under the branding of the Cadbury's Crunchy Flying Circus, the Utterly Butterly Barnstormers, Team Gino, and more recently in fabulous colours, the Breitling Wingwalkers. They perform around about 60 displays a year, entertaining well over 7 million spectators at many large live events. And at times quite breathtaking work as well. All the maneuvers, including loops, rolls, stall turns, and inverted flights, flying between 50 and 150 miles an hour with G-forces up to 4G at the same time as the girls choreographing an energetic routine of dazzling acrobatics alongside the pilot formation work. Not too many swimmers out today, but just a reminder that there are yellow markers out there. You're very happy to go and swim near to the shore, but please don't go out too far, otherwise that could interfere with the flying display itself. As would flying anything else in the air, a flag, a kite or a balloon, and definitely a drone. No thank you, please. Please put all that stuff back in the boot of the car and let us all sit back and enjoy what's going to be a thrilling afternoon. So they've just called a minute to go, and yesterday they came in from our left-hand side. And they normally would come in quite high. If you can't pick them out, they'll put some smoke on, which makes all the difference as well. But beautifully painted aircraft and a wonderful afternoon to enjoy them. So look high up on your left-hand side and you'll see two vintage biplanes from altogether a different era. Fantastic machines. Look even closer and you see that on the wing are two girls. That is Kirsten and Emma. And they're literally on the wing swinging around. And here they go now. The smoke is on and Dave, the leader, is just calling for a dive. Steep down, coming off the roller coaster. And they're going into the uppity up-ups and roller coasting their way into the English Riviera Airshow Day 3. Really superb aircraft, these strong, robust, and that wonderful rasping roar that is coming from the front end of a Pratt & Whitney radial engine, developing about 450 horsepower from 9 cylinders on a, and on the front there, a big 10-foot Hamilton standard propeller whose tips almost go supersonic, and that's where you get that wonderful sound from. They'll stick together in a pair for the next few minutes, going through a variety of maneuvers before then coming down a little bit lower for us into their different routines. And at all times, keep your eye on the girls, because they have their own choreography going on at the same time. It's a scintillating display, and I'm glad to tell you, perfectly safe as well. The girls do have emergency harnesses, as well as being locked in for the first part of the show into their 5-point harnesses. Going up now into a wonderful roll, and there you see the girls dangling from the top of the aircraft as they go upside down, and negative G, the blood rushing to all their heads. Taking a bend out over to our left-hand side. The story goes back really to, oh, wonderful, wonderful rasp there. You put all the propeller into fine pitch, and a lot of power. The extra power actually on these aircraft, because these are not standard engines for a steerman, are used to overcome the drag of having somebody on the top of the wing. But the airframe itself is also quite heavily modified as well. But the story, as I mentioned, very much going back to the our period after the First World War, when there were a lot of surplus aircraft and even more surplus pilots, all looking for work, jobs, and a bit of fun. And there was born the barnstorming, steered on by a couple of pioneers, Orma Locklear and Ethel Dare. Watch out now for the split coming up. Get your cameras ready. And what a wonderful sight that is. Just really great nostalgia, great vintage and heritage aircraft all rolled into a little piece of sky. Ormond Locklear was reputed to have actually walked out onto the wing of his own aircraft while they were able to try and fix an issue with one of the wing struts. And then he was joined by his female partner, who basically started the whole genre of this, not without mishaps, as you would imagine in the early days, but now carried out as a professional activity, and something that you can all have a go at yourselves if you want. Just go to gowingwalking.com, and you'll be connected up to the team base at a beautiful airfield called Rencombe, an old First World War airfield near Cirencester in Gloucester. As well as the bigger engines, the aircraft have also been fitted with some extra ailerons, and that gives them additional control to enable them to perform the maneuvers they do during the course of the display. Now coming in now, they look as they're going to head, but they'll soon dive down and then pull up in another dramatic 3 or 4G climb. Here now, going over the top. And they're putting in a roll. The girls hanging in their straps. So built in America, as you can probably guess from the story, as a trainer during the, and before, they developed during the 30s for the Second World War. Nearly 10,000 of these were built, and they trained thousands and thousands of pilots. After the war, they were sold off as surplus, and the majority were bought by farmers and converted into crop dusters. And then when more modern agricultural aircraft came along, they were basically used for just pleasure flying and general duties and liaison work and things like that. So they're brilliant, but it's great that so many people have now worked to preserve them. Lovely, strong, roomy aircraft, great cockpits. And the pilot, you'll notice, well, you will later when the girls start walking around the wing, the pilot sits in the rear cockpit. And that's the sound of Dave Burrell there. He is the lead pilot today, but also the chief pilot of Aerosuperbatics as well. He's got a huge amount of flying under his belt. He's flown almost 1,500 displays and around 5,000 hours, most of that on Stearman's, working closely with the professional wingwalkers and helping to train them as well with gymnastics on top of the wing. Flown a whole variety of other aircraft as well, but effectively now really got a busy company to run. And as I say again, you can Google them and have a go at this yourself if you wish. So running in for the second or third pass now. And you see the girls there stretching out arms and legs. And that's a pretty tough thing to do when the wind is 150 miles an hour. In the other aircraft is Brian Corns, who had a passion for all things aeronautical from the time he was a teenager and started gliding at the age of 14. Flying solo at 16. He's also a qualified aeronautical engineer and spent years working on helicopters and jet engines, and joined the Air Force and has got well over 13,000 hours now, having flown pretty much everything from rudimentary gliders to sophisticated executive business jets. During his time in the Air Force, he flew a multitude of different aircraft and also competed in the British Aerobatic Championships for many years, flying his own home-built aerobatic aircraft. Once again, that wonderful rasping roar coming from those Pratt & Whitney radial engines, just a terrific sound. Now, as they're coming in a little bit closer, a good chance to see a bit more of the girls. On the lead aircraft, flying on David's wing, is Kirsten Pobjoy. She is the lead professional wingwalker for the company. And behind her on the other wing is Emma Broadbent, now in her 6th season. Both of them have a background in gymnastics or acrobatics. Kirsten started in trapeze and aerial circus work, which unsurprisingly helped them build strength, flexibility and awareness for doing this sort of thing, and combines that with a passion for aviation. Bit of an adrenaline junkie as well, likes an awful lot of other outdoor activities, and just loves the freedom during the course of the tail end of the show, when they can unlock and actually walk around the top of the airframe. Emma's also a bit of an adrenaline junkie as well, marathon, shark cage diving, kite surfing and skydiving, and hasn't looked back since she joined the team. It's very tough to get in. They do advertise now and again, but they always are flooded with applicants to do this. Loves pulling G while she's doing a handstand, she told me, especially when they're actually doing a barrel roll at the same time. But she trained in classical dancing and absolutely perfect for developing all the muscles required to adopt all these starches, such as the arabesque. So I'm just being blown away here, a sudden gust of wind, not from the airplanes, just coming from behind us here. So you can imagine keeping fit is essential, not just for the pilots, but particularly for the girls. Now, during this pass here, you should see the girls unstrapping from their positions. smoke coming on, a very useful thing. It's all environmentally friendly that most of the pilots use these days. It's a form of baby oil. But good chance, boys and girls, mums and dads, do give these pilots and the Wingwalkers a great wave here, because they are working incredibly hard. It's a magnificent sight. The sun now beaming off those wonderful, gaily painted fuselages. Just terrific. So if you didn't notice during the course of that pass, the foot of the Wingwalkers was actually literally right in front of the pilot, and that is what they do when they unstrap out of the main rig, and they just then are basically holding on with their emergency safety strap. Last pass coming up, Dave has just announced, so again, if you've enjoyed this, do give them a massive wave off. They love coming around, and the seaside is just the perfect place for this sort of aerial entertainment, taking you back to yesteryear at the same time as bringing you aerial entertainment today. Ladies and gentlemen, the Aerosuperbatics team from Rencombe, Dave Barrell, Brian Corns, Kirsten and Emma. And that is them now complete, and they're going off into the wild blue yonder. Great character is Dave Barrell, and a real pleasure to see them back as a pair today rather than the singleton we saw yesterday. Well, we're going to change genre now and bring you into military flying, and the first stage at which young cadets would really get an experience of flying, and also where the chaff is sorted from the wheat on the initial grading and elementary flying training phase. We've just got a couple of minutes to reset that, and then we'll have one of their team take you through the entire display. Super little aircraft, and I think you'll enjoy what they managed to do with it in a very small space. Well, boys and girls, you could help us try and find this aircraft because it's right out to sea. We see where that speedboat is, right out to sea there in the middle. It's round about there and about a couple of 100 feet above that area. He's just positioning. They're not the easiest aircraft to see, except this one is better than many. And you'll find out why in a minute or two. So here we go. We've got him, if you can't see him. But to help you, please welcome Flight Lieutenant Ross Edmonds, who'll tell you all about it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the 2026 Royal Air Force Tutor Display. My name is Flight Lieutenant Ross Edmonds, and I'm the Tutor Display Manager for the 2026 season. It's our pleasure to display the Grob Tutor for you all today. Hopefully you can pick him out, 12 o'clock just above the horizon, flashing lights, yellow aircraft, flying in towards us from the centre at nearly 200 miles an hour. It doesn't quite look like it because he's directly on, but it's our display pilot for this season, Flight Lieutenant Rich Tamala. Hopefully we'll put on a fantastic show for you all today. Okay, as he runs in, he will pull up, converting his speed into height to perform his first manoeuvre, the Hammerhead. Flight Lieutenant Tamala was born and raised in Cwmbran, South Wales, and started his flying career in the Royal Air Force in 1996, initially flying the C-130 Hercules out of RAF Lynham. He's now entering a half-Cuban combination of a pitch, roll and loop to change direction back along the crowd line. This is Rich's first year with the tutor display. He's operating at a base height of 500 feet, except his final two passes at 2 and 100. He's pulling up now for a loop. At the top of that loop, he's inverted, experiencing total weightlessness as he hits 0G. And as he comes out the bottom, G-forces increase and Rich smoothly manipulates the aircraft to ensure he levels out at bang on 500. He's now going into another classic aerobatic maneuver to change direction for the half horizontal. Unlike displaying jets, tutor requires careful energy management due to its low power to weight ratio. Pulls up again for a quarter clover to fly away from you. This next maneuver is a good one to get the cameras out. He's gaining speed and he pitches up into the vertical for a stall turn. Now a full-time reserve officer, Rich was previously a senior officer whilst in the regular service, serving his final tour as officer commanding of 45 Squadron. Pulling out there, running back in towards us to complete the next manoeuvre, which is a quarter clover to reposition back onto the crowd line. During his 30-year career, he's amassed over 5,000 flying hours and flown 10 different aircraft types. As he exits his quarter clover, he's going to enter into a wingover, a combined pitching and rolling manoeuvre used to turn the aircraft through 180 degrees. You'll notice throughout the display that every single wingover is slightly different. In a light aircraft such as this, Rich has to carefully select his flight path to cater for differing wind conditions and energy states. As he comes out of the wingover, Rich is going to enter the slow roll. Throughout the slow roll, Rich will skillfully coordinate elevator, rudder and aileron inputs to ensure that the lift vector stays pointing upwards, preventing him from descending towards the ground. Cameras at the ready, folks, as Rich will now change direction once again with another stall turn. In his spare time, Rich is a military ski instructor and also a mountain leader. As he graciously falls out of the stall turn now, Rich will run back towards the crowd centre for another variation of a quarter clover. You will observe initially that he will complete the first half of a loop. Up he goes for rolling away from you. The Tutor is operated by No. 6 Flying Training School in partnership with Babcock International Group, primarily flying University Air Squadron students and RAF Air Cadets. Which will complete now another half Cuban to then fly back towards you. There are 13 air experience flights across the UK that offer flights for 20,000 cadets every single year. So if you're aged between 13 and 20 and join the Air Cadets, you too could fly in this aircraft. As he comes back towards us, Rich will now change direction once again to link a quarter clover into a wing over. The Air Cadets offers 50 pilot scholarships per year on the Tutor, with students following a syllabus akin to the private pilot's license, the highlight without a doubt being sent first solo. Air Cadets is also one of the largest providers of the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme, offering a range of other adventurous activities. As he slowly comes out of another wing over, get your cameras at the ready, as Rich will enter the 4-point roll. In the 4-point roll here, Rich will delicately coordinate a rudder, aileron and elevator to keep that nose firmly above the horizon as he does so there. He's then going to exit and enter another wing over. Some of you may have noticed and alluded to earlier the yellow and black paint scheme that we have. Sometimes we have the white aircraft, but today yellow and black. Truly one of a kind, originally part of a trial to help other pilots identify the aircraft in the air, but now it's become a crowd favorite at air shows and has been given the nickname the Bumblebee. Rich's next sequence of linked maneuvers is named after his daughter for the Amy roll. For those of you that are considering joining university, there are 15 university air squadrons across the United Kingdom. UAS students are taught to fly the Tutor by highly experienced, qualified flying instructors just like Rich. It's worth mentioning that the syllabus includes solo aerobatics. Now Rich will change direction once again with a half horizontal before descending to 200 feet for the 185 mile/hour fast pass. The University Air Squadron also provides a huge opportunity for leadership development as well as adventure training and sports inside and out of the UK. As he exits the fast pass, with all that energy, he's going to complete another wing over. But arguably, one of the most unique parts of this display compared to others that you'll see today is the fact that you, if you're aged between 13 and 20 or at university, can fly this exact aircraft, this exact aerobatic sequence, and even potentially with Rich himself. All you need to do is join the Air Cadets, or if slightly older, join the University Air Squadron. As he enters the final section of the display, with a crowd favourite from last season, Rich will enter the oblique loop. Another great opportunity to capture some final photos. I'd additionally like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors. Appreciation goes to the Royal Air Force Benevolent Fund, Babcock International, Runway 25 and Squadron Prints. Why not visit their websites today? Also feel free to pop by and say hello to myself and Bristol University Air Squadron, our tent in the pink zone. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions. He's pulling out of a half Cuban there. He'll bring the Tutor around for a final manoeuvre, a waving pass flown at just 100 feet. Be sure to wave back to him. He can see you, rest assured. Massive thank you to the English Riviera Airshow for hosting us today, and a thank you for all of your support, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the 2026 Royal Air Force Tutor Display Team.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Ross. And that is it. That is the same one that Prince Harry and Prince William trained on as well, in case you want to know. So it doesn't matter who you are. You all are assessed equitably across the application, and there's plenty of them. And then you go on and do that. So, Ross, we've got a quick minute. How many hours did you spend on this aircraft before you were then selected for the front line?
So it's slightly different now, but I was at the University Air Squadron and I got about 40 hours flying on the Grob Tutor. I completed what's called the PFB, or the Preliminary Flying Badge, so I did some solo aerobatics and some navigation. But as it stands at the moment, the Royal Air Force actually uses the sort of newer gen, better version of the Grob Tutor called the Grob Prefect.
Of course, yes.
It's slightly bigger, more powerful, but I got about 35 hours at that point. And then from there I was streamed, and I'm heading down the rotary path line to fly Chinooks in about a year's time.
Exciting stuff. Well, I wish you all the best, Ross. Look forward to seeing you later in the season around some other parts of the UK.
Thank you, George.
Okay, coming up now, we're talking about training still to a certain extent, and the group or family of aircraft that I certainly trained on myself many decades ago, and it was really pretty familiar with thousands and thousands of pilots. I'm talking about the Jet Provost family. In this case, we're going to see a Mark V, the T5 training aircraft, better than the 3 that many pilots initially trained on. So that's going to be joining us very shortly. After that, we'll have some absolutely outstanding aerobatics from the Starlings. 2 really superb professionals right at the top of their tree in really high energy aerobatic aircraft. So that'll take us up to the break at around about 20 past 2. We'll give you about 45 minutes or so for that. And then this afternoon, later on, we've got elements from the Navy, an historic Navy Wasp helicopter, that the type that was used down in the Falklands War many years ago. And then the up-to-date aircraft and helicopter they're flying now on the backs of ships, which is the Wildcat. We'll see the Firebirds once again, if you haven't seen them yet this weekend. Then another contribution from the historic element of the Navy with a Harvard, Richard Goodwin in his outstanding jet-powered pit special, and then finishing off this afternoon with the Typhoon. But I'm told now that the Jet Provost is running in. Here he goes from the right to the left. It's Phil Bird in the Jet Provost Mark V. So this is an interesting aircraft built at Wharton. It's the 38th Jet Provost T5 to come off that production line. And it entered service in 1970 with 3 FTS at RAF Leeming. Putting up into a very high looping maneuver, called hanging in the straps over the top there. And you'll see that it's a reasonable power, it's a reasonable space, but of course the more modern jets are able to maneuver in a lot tighter area than this. And this is fitted with a Viper engine, which is a little bit more screechy than many of the newer versions. Just about getting up to the cloud base there. During its time at Leeming, this particular aircraft was not just used for basic training, but was also the school's aerobatic team. And it formed part of the Gemini pair in the early 70s. And that was pretty standard at the time throughout the Air Force. Many of the squadrons or airfields formed their own aerobatic teams. And there were literally dozens of them all across the country. It was wonderful stuff. And of course, those pilots went on to eventually fly with, or many of them did, with the Red Arrows. Although this one was built in 1970, the historical development of the Jet Provost family goes back to the mid-50s, when the Air Force was looking for a replacement for the Hunting Percival, a piston aircraft. And the prototype of the Jet Provost first flew in June 1954, nominated then as the T1, when the Air Force ordered 10 of those. Well, it took off extremely well. Quickly, the Air Force grew to love it and ordered a slightly uprated version with 40 of those, featuring this Siddeley, or Armstrong Siddeley as it was at the time, Viper jet engine with ejector seats, a redesign of the airframe, and a slightly different retractable undercarriage. And moving on from that, then the need to get something a little more advanced led to the development of this T5 version. A little more, tiny bit more room in the cockpit, if you know the different types, and also pressurized, so a lot more comfortable to fly as well. Able to fly up to about 420 knots and pulling G routinely from plus 5.5 down to about minus 3.5. Reasonable endurance, about 3 hours at high level, but about half of that at low level. Flying it today, Phil Bird. He joined the Air Force back in 2002. He flew initially on 43 Squadron with a Tornado F3. Saw a lot of operational service with the quick reaction team, and based not just in the UK but down at the Falkland Islands as well. And then became an instructor on the Hawk, and many of us got to know him while he was on the tactical weapons course initially, and then as the Hawk display pilot in 2012. He was lucky enough to go on to fly the Typhoon and was heavily involved in Operation Shader, where he was regularly flying combat missions in Iraq and Syria, and made good use of the full range of multi-role capabilities of the Typhoon, which we'll see at the end of this afternoon. The aircraft, after being used for pilot training, went on to navigation training at Royal Air Force Finningley, and was discharged from the Air Force in 1994. And that gave it 24 years service, changing hands several times before being purchased by a great supporter of air displays, Jeff Bell. And there he is. I was hoping we might just get one more farewell flight pass from him, but pulling out at the bottom end of that loop, and now on his way back to Exeter. Well, that was Phil Bird in the Jet Provost Mark T5. Just another little short break now before we get a very thrilling and exciting performance. It will mesmerize you. Two really outstanding aerobatic pilots, superb aircraft. And that'll take us up to our first break of the afternoon. Just a reminder, please keep hold of all your belongings. I'm sure you're all aware of the enhanced alert state across the country at the moment. But also take good care of the children and any other vulnerable adults that may be with you. There'll be plenty for you to do during the course of the break, which is coming up, around on the showgrounds with the military villages, the street food area, and of course some music also during the break, which I know is very entertaining. We've had some great bands during the course of the weekend. At 2:20, we have True Foxes on the main stage. Now, if you're not sure about the zones that I was discussing, the whole area on the site is zoned off in colour format. And the best way to check out more of what is happening there is to get yourself a program. It's really a first-class program, lots of terrific photography in it, and of course detail about the pilots and the aircraft. But also comes with a site map as well, which will give you an opportunity, should you become detached during the course of the afternoon, to reunite with your family. And if you need any help or assistance whatsoever, there is an excellent event information stand at the entrance to Pier Approach. And that is right between, it's right in the middle of the yellow and the pink zones between the north and the middle greens, all behind us. Well, the good news is the airwaves behind me have just broken silence again, and I hear the next act just checking in online with our flight director upstairs. And they've been given clearance to display, and the sky's looking just perfect in many ways. That cloud is very high and the visibility fantastic, so should not affect flying for the rest of the afternoon. Fingers crossed. And these two guys absolutely top of their tree in terms of aerobatic professionalism, also professional flying as well into really first-class aerobatic aircraft. You see them coming in. They've got smoke as well, like so many others, but this has got their own version. It's called Dotty, and it's controlled to fit various types of smoke trails that you need and can be used as a form of sky writing as well. Well, you can hear them, boys and girls. Can you keep your eyes peeled? High up on the left-hand side. Any minute now, you'll see the smoke come on, and then they dive down into a rip-roaring, high-energy, superbly aerobatic series of pairs formation work before then breaking apart into their own individual displays. Please welcome Tom Cassells and Michael Picking, the Starlings. You'll notice just how tight they maintain this formation. It requires a lot of skill, a lot of training, and of course, almost a lot of trust as well. Hours and hours of practice, but these guys right at the top of their tree, you're now going to appreciate a masterclass in aerobatic flying. If you're on a scanner, you'll hear the voice of Tom at the front leading. These guys performing their high-octane close formation aerobatics and a lot of gyroscopic tumbling maneuvers as well. The combined aerobatic experience of well over 50 years in air shows and competitions, and they've flown all over the world as solo acts and as part of a formation. Flying an outstanding aircraft in the Extra 300 NG, the latest and one of the most modern purpose designed and built unlimited aerobatic aircraft in the world. Coming out of the well-known stable, of course, you will have heard of the Extra Aircraft Company in Germany, and you will have seen many extras in the past flying. The original EA 300 was designed in 1987 by Walter Extra, a former German aerobatic champion himself. This aircraft tweaked and refined by its operators over at least the last 4 decades, and sales still booming around the world. Really first-class performing aircraft. Leading the team, Tom, a current display authorization examiner, and Michael alongside him, at the moment, but soon to do his own thing. The youngest person ever to become a British aerobatic champion. Coming in now for what we call a barrel roll. And that is when they pull the nose right up, put in a very well-controlled turn. And there we go, around the outside of a massive, great barrel of beer. The aim being, Michael there, replicating every little control input that Tom puts in so that they move in total synchronicity. These aircraft capable of unlimited aerobatics with roll rates in excess of 400 degrees per second and able to fly from plus 10G to minus 10G, and you'll see this ably demonstrated in the second part of their display. Tom got his flying license back in 1983 and has since well over 40 different types in his logbook with in excess of 7,000 hours experience. Got into aerobatic flying in the early 90s, initially with a Slingsby Firefly, winning his first contest that same year, and then moving on to flying a Zlin. His favorite aircraft for many years was, however, Cap 232, but now both of them paired up in the Extra NG. And they're out of another loop, hanging the straps up there, almost go weightless right at the top of that, but they check back, check on the wing for the position of each other, and then of course that their wings level before pulling out. Look how wonderfully tightly executed the pass is and the positioning of Michael, just a few feet away from Tom's aircraft. Positioning now for what we call a stall turn. You've heard it once or twice during the course of the display, and that is when they almost run out of airspeed totally, stop going upwards, put in a big boot of rudder, and turn the aircraft on its side through 180 degrees. In for the break now. Opposition turns. And here, very shortly, an opportunity now to see some extreme tempo, dynamic aerobatics, and pushing the aircraft and the pilots to the extremes of their limits. Putting another boot full of rudder in now as they come out of that stall turn. G really coming on as they pull up into those turns every time. Snap rolling on the way up, and then once again just letting the air speed, but going into a hammerhead, pulling over the top. And precision flat spinning all the way down, but totally under control. A lot of activity going on in the cockpits, a lot of control movements, very, very precise movements. Positioning now for one of their little specialities, a little dedication to everybody down there for appreciation and love. Putting up for the Starling's heart. So this is the split now. Tom running in for a couple of minutes of high energy aerobatics, whilst Michael just parks off in a bit of blue sky. There's the dotty smoke now. Rapid rolls, and remember, 420 degrees a second is seriously high speed maneuvering. Tom has been an unlimited national aerobatic champion at least 3 times, and now spends an awful lot of time mentoring and training younger people to come into this very exciting business. Takes a toll, not just on the aircraft, these very strong aircraft though, but on the body. You have to train, keep fit for this. There's a lot of, there's no G-suits worn by these aerobatic pilots, so they have to take the stresses and the strains in the body and train for that physically. This aircraft more than manly enough to take what any pilot can possibly take themselves. An all-carbon fiber frame, state-of-the-art avionics, and a new level of pilot comfort for the aircraft as well. It's both fast and easily handled, but it has to be in the right hands to do that, of course, fresh from the factory. And I mentioned individual specification being put on, and Tom, unsurprisingly, decided that one of the things he needed was a heater. And you don't normally have that in an aerobatic aircraft, I can assure you. So for all those long transits, it gets very chilly at high altitude. Tumbling now through the sky, having fallen out of that with little airspeed, but they basically use all that height, convert that into energy, in addition to the speed, which gives them the extension of energy to go through the next set of maneuvers. So Tom now going off to the right-hand side. Keep your eyes peeled for Michael. Here he comes, dotty smoke right in the middle. Diving out once again. Great way to enter, just slow rolling it first of all, and then he'll wind up the motion. Jinxing left and right, letting the speed really tail off. Virtually nothing left on the clock there, and a big boot of rudder through the stall turn. Started flying at a very young age, did Michael, inspired by his father. He won his first aerobatic competition at just 14 years old and went on to become the youngest person ever to be awarded a display authorization for display flying. Became the British Advanced National Aerobatic Champion at just 23 years old, and is still what was the youngest unlimited level aerobatic pilot in Europe at the age of just 30. He's performed all over the world as a solo display pilot and as part of the formation flying as well. Very passionate about vintage aircraft. And, well, that includes not just his own Booker, I should say, but also flying the Spitfire as well. He's flown over 50 aircraft types, from gliders to airliners, and an active commercial pilot on the Boeing 75 and 76 series of aircraft. That is the last phase with Michael. And here now rejoining, and this is an interesting maneuver because Tom is going to put the aircraft upside down, and we'll see what happens next. And there he goes, a very quick roll through 180 degrees, inverted, all the blood rushing to his head as he hangs in his straps as Michael goes into a carousel, or hurricane, whatever you wish to call it. I just love the dotty smoke, I mean, nice transition. And Tom just rolling out now. And that is the Starlings complete. So grateful thanks to Tom and Michael for another expertly executed aerobatic display there. And time now for you guys to have a bit of a break. That includes us in the control box as well. Well-earned cup of tea, whatever you want. Sort the children out. Go and take a walk around the green, chat to some of the military people there, or just enjoy the music on the stage, which is coming up in the next few minutes. And I'll be back in about 45 minutes, around about 3 o'clock. See you later. Well, hello everybody once again, and the sunshine breaking out now, which is fantastic. A little bit of a cool breeze blowing off the beach, so if you could just make sure you keep a hold of anything that may fly out to sea, that'd be great. It's just environmentally sound, but also if it gets airborne, it could interfere with the aircraft as well. So just hang on to everything if you wouldn't mind, that'd be great. Hope you've had a decent break and topped up on teas and coffees and listened to a bit of music as well. We've got just over an hour's worth of flying now ahead of you, and we're kicking off with very much a Royal Navy theme about the Fleet Air Arm. With both an historic helicopter, and that'll be followed by absolutely frontline current helicopter of today with the Wildcat. We're also going to see some more pairs formation flying from the Firebirds, and another rip-roaring aerobatic display from Richard Goodwin with his amazingly jet-powered pit special. But finishing off with a absolutely terrific finale for the whole 3 days, the Royal Air Force Typhoon. So we're just waiting now for the aircraft to check in. We're expecting that here in just a couple of minutes to go. Well, I just hear clearance being given to display, and flying today is Tim Delafosse, and there we see it, if you look far out to sea, a few hundred feet above the surface, a little waspy helicopter heading our way. It's actually owned and operated now by Navy Wings, which is the heritage flight of the Royal Navy's Fleet Air Arm, based at Royal Naval Air Station Yeovilton, where Tim has just come up from. And in its day, this was a medium-range anti-submarine torpedo-carrying helicopter, otherwise acronymed as MATCH. It's that lovely whiny engine is a Rolls-Royce Nimbus, kicking out just over 1,000 shaft horsepower. Got a decent range of 180 nautical miles and a top speed of around 120 miles an hour. Ladies and gentlemen, the Royal Navy Heritage Flight Wasp. Aircraft is painted in the colours of HMS Aurora's Wasp flight. That was a Leander-class frigate, of course, well past now. And it's flown today, as I mentioned, by Tim Delafosse, and I'd like to say a big hello to his family who are with us here today, and hope you're having a great day out. Whilst in the Royal Navy, Tim flew Sea Kings before then going on to fly a huge number of types during a 32-year career at British Airways, including most of the Airbus and Boeing family of aircraft. Originally called the Sea Scout, this was developed alongside the Army Scout helicopter. The main difference for you looking at this being that the Navy helicopters have wheels and the Army had skids. And this particular helicopter was one of the world's first frigate-based helicopters, first flying in 1963 and finally retiring in 1988. Most of the Wasp were replaced by the mid-80s by the Lynx helicopter, and now that has been since replaced by the Wildcat. More about that when we see the Black Cats in just a few minutes' time. The reason for the wheels on a Navy helicopter is, of course, to enable it to be maneuvered around the ship's flight deck. Could carry 2 torpedoes or 2 anti-ship missiles, plus a GPMG. Effective as a submarine killer, at best deployed paired with a Wessex Mark III or a Sea King Marks 1, 2 or 5, or indeed an RAF Nimrod back in the day when that was a submarine hunter. Just saw active service and most notably when the Argentinian War broke out in 1982 following the invasion of the Falkland Islands. 7 reserve frigates and their helicopters were recommissioned for active service in the South Atlantic. Generally speaking, a crew of 1 pilot plus an air crewman and missile aimer, but otherwise with 4 passengers. Had a hook for underslung loads and also search and rescue work. And a stretcher could be fitted across the back seats, and you'll see the bulge in the cockpit, the rear door has an extra bulge in it to enable a full stretcher to be put in across the rear seat. Often referred to as the ship's Land Rover, it's a great utility helicopter, but the first missile fired in anger was in April 1982 when the Argentinian submarine Santa Fe was spotted by a Wessex helicopter from HMS Antrim, and the Wessex first of all attacked it with depth charges, but then HMS Plymouth launched a Westland Wasp helicopter and HMS Brilliant launched a Westland Lynx. Lynx attacks the submarine with a Mark 46 torpedo, strafed it as well with its general purpose machine gun, and also fired on the Santa Fe as well. So the Wasp itself from Plymouth, as well as 2 other Wasps launched from HMS Endurance, fired AS-12 anti-ship missiles at the submarine, scoring hits. And the damage was bad enough to prevent the submarine from submerging. And the crew abandoned the submarine at the jetty on South Georgia and surrendered to British forces. So real pedigree as a combat helicopter as well. Coming in for a stable hover. I'm sure Tim will give us a little nod as well in a moment as he goes into a little bit of a rearward transition there. There's the nod. Just giving a good look up and down, and no doubt a big wave from his family there as well. This particular aircraft, bearing the insignia of 89 Naval Air Squadron from Aurora, was actually built in 1964. And served with a whole range of different ships during the course of its service with 829 Squadron, with HMS Nubian, Hecate, Lowestoft, Cleopatra, Aurora, and that was from February 76 to June 81, also with Ajax and Heckler as well. And that is Tim complete. And we hope you enjoyed that, and I hope the family enjoyed watching him as well. Huge amount of experience in his hands there, and a colourful character who's been involved in many other activities as well, stretching over that 32-year career, eventually retiring from British Airways in 2020. So our grateful thanks to them as we look forward now to that being replaced by the latest frontline helicopter in the Royal Navy, and that will be a Wildcat HMA-2 also from Yeovilton, flown today by Lieutenant Commander Jim Fraser. So we just have to wait.
Hello, good morning everybody. My name's Lieutenant Commander Jim Fraser. I'm the display pilot for the Royal Navy Black Cats. It's an absolute pleasure to be here at the English Riviera Airshow on the last day. And at 15:13 today, I get to show off the Wildcat HMA-2 to the public, which I'm really looking forward to do. It's my very first year as the display pilot, and this is my very first display as well of the whole season. I had a really good time yesterday, flying the helicopter around up to 150 knots, climbing super quickly at 4,000 feet per minute, and also pitching the aircraft 90 degrees nose down, as well as 90 degrees angle bank, with a really nice friendly wing waggle as we went down the crowd line at the end. So stay tuned for more of us over the next few months.
Operationally around the world, they can only field the one helicopter. And they eventually, or effectively replaced what was a well-known Gazelle display team back in the 1990s called the Sharks. They received many awards over the years. And the name itself is derived not just from the fierce cat depicted on the now disbanded 702 Naval Air Squadron emblem, but also the term black catting, a naval bit of Navy slang there for one-upmanship, doing or owning something better than someone else. But look ahead now as aircraft runs in at 100 feet, 130 knots, the Royal Navy Black Cats. Today's aircraft is Coursign Black 1, crewed by Lieutenant Commander Jim Fraser and Freddie Morton King. Replaced the Lynx Mark 8 as the latest generation of multi-role helicopter, specifically procured to operate from frigates and destroyers of the Royal Navy. Has a more powerful engine, allowing it to be flown in extreme conditions all year round. And whilst it's a nice day today, you've got to really picture yourself on a heaving, rolling deck far out in the ocean, potentially in combat areas at the same time. And of course that, whatever it is, whether it's the back of a frigate or an aircraft carrier, it is an airfield that keeps moving. So having taken off from it, it's rarely in the same position when you come back to land on it. This particular aircraft also has a more robust fuselage, a high-tech interactive display, and a new radar system providing 360-degree surveillance. As a maritime attack helicopter, it also carries Stingray torpedoes, a door-mounted .5 heavy machine gun, and new light and heavy variants of anti-service guided missiles. Amongst these is the Martlet, a laser-guided missile system, and Sea Venom, a guided anti-shipping missile. Together with the aircraft's sophisticated sensor suite, they provide a potential maritime strike capability, delivering real lethality from Royal Navy ships at sea. Jim bringing it back into a stable hover now. He joined the Navy in 2001, deploying worldwide with 815 Naval Air Squadron on the Maritime Lynx. And in that role was supporting counter-narcotics and disaster relief. He went on to instruct with 660 Squadron Army Air Corps. And there's a great affinity now with both the Army Air Corps and the Royal Navy squadrons of Wildcat, co-located at Royal Naval Air Station Yeovilton. Putting up into a high hover, there's the tail down, a windscreen full of sea below him. Using that dive now to get a bit more energy back in for the next maneuver. Jim also competed at the World Helicopter Championships in Russia, and since converting to the Wildcat in 2017 has held frontline and instructional roles with 815 and 825 Naval Air Squadron, including a period when he served as Lieutenant Commander flying at Royal Naval Air Station Yeovilton before going back onto Wildcat instructional duties. A whole different world out there as opposed to flying out of airfields, and the aircraft is expected to perform a whole range of tasks used in anti-service warfare, force protection and counter-piracy. Also able to carry out obviously the anti-submarine role as we've described, but it also provides commanders with a flexible attack capability which can be deployed to tackle all sorts of threats at sea and of course from under the sea, with its state-of-the-art sensors, equipment and weapons. Of course, it's not all glory in the cockpit. There's a whole raft of people providing the support to it, Royal Navy aviators and engineers. Many of them volunteers from their own squadrons to support this activity at weekends. coming back in to hover again. A good opportunity to give Jim and Freddie a good wave off. This, they'll be going home after this, and there's the nods back to you as well. So they've asked me to pass on their personal thanks to everyone for their support throughout this coming season. And they'd like to offer their thanks to the engineers who keep them flying, and also all their support staff on the Black Cat's stall behind you on the green. You get the chance to go and talk to them, and also inquire about careers in the Fleet Air Arm. They hope very much you've enjoyed that, and they're excellent in continuing to promote the ongoing work of the Royal Navy and the Fleet Air Arm. Lead, fight, and win. Coming towards the end of the display now. Again, you can almost feel the power that these uprated engines now have as Jim raises it up into a circling climb, maintaining pinpoint over the start point on the sea below. Finishing up the top there at around 700 feet. Another big nose over. They're just a superb wing over. That's essentially just a basic repositioning maneuver that all pilots practice. And now here's his farewell. Wing waggle wave. Do give him a wave, won't you, boys and girls? Jim and Freddie there, having had a couple of days here on the road with us, and we hope you enjoyed that and had an opportunity to see frontline action with the Royal Navy. As they fly off again to join the others in the wild blue yonder, we will change the genre slightly now to go back into some sublime pairs fixed wing formation work from the Firebirds. You can hear the radio behind me just clacking away, doing a bit of aerial coordination just to deconflict the helicopter going out there to the northeast, with the Firebirds coming in after they have cleared. as we conclude that part of the Royal Navy presentation, we take a short gap now with some more superb aerobatic flying. But we will return to another historic aircraft from Navy wings a few moments after this display. That'll be followed by the pit special, dynamic, really, really energetic aerobatic flying, and closing up this afternoon with the mighty Typhoon. So we're just looking out now. Two small aircraft, they're called RV4s, and delightful machines they are. Perfectly built for either touring or aerobatic flying. Very comfy aircraft, and in the hands of two vastly experienced pilots. I hear them just checking in now, doing their pre-checks before they come into display. So you hear the engines, you hear the power. Here they are, putting up right in front of you. Please welcome the Firebirds. And you'll be treated to very graceful formation flying here as well. And those of you here Friday night would have seen these characters flying with all the lights on. You can't see them now, but the aircraft are fitted with neon lighting down the fuselage, and on Friday night had fireworks on the wings as well. But today they'll be flying very much the same formation routine, albeit without any exciting pyrotechnics. Great aircraft these from American company Vans, called RVs. Easily the most successful range of home-built aircraft in the world by a very, very long margin. And literally tens of thousands have been built in many different variants. You can build one of these in your backyard and tailor it to suit your own flying conditions and ambitions, whether you want it mainly as a tourer or whether you want to go competitive aerobatic flying. These two were actually imported from America after the original owners, Andy Durston and John Gowdy. You may remember them as the Fireflies 5 or 6 years ago. And these guys, Nigel and Doddy, bought the aircraft from them to continue them as the Firebirds. Fitted with a 160 horsepower 4-cylinder Lycoming engine, fixed pitch propellers, so nothing else to fiddle with there, but they're in tandem configuration, and more exceptionally with dual controls for the rear seat as well, so very much a fighter pilot type feel to the aircraft, but a very versatile range of speed from 50 to 200 miles an hour, and requiring just a very small strip of around 300 meters for takeoff and landing. But with the cruise speed of around 160 miles an hour, it does make for that touring ambition as well, with a bit of room in there for luggage, not a huge amount, but enough, but aerobatically able to extend its agility from +6 to -3 G. So as well as the additional lighting systems, they've also, of course, got smoke systems as well. That's, once again, very environmentally sound baby oil. And it in pairs work, and in fact in any formation work, it helps hugely as a safety factor in addition to just being aesthetic. They don't have inverted fuel systems though, so they've got to, generally speaking, maintain positive G loading to ensure the engine continues safely. wonderful. They're making it look easy because it's seamlessly picturesque, but at the same time, a huge amount of work and practice goes into this. And the whole aim being that the second pilot replicates as closely as possible all the control inputs of the lead pilot. This time coming in line abreast. And going up this time into another one of those descriptions we mentioned earlier on, the barrel roll, when they will fly around the outside of an imaginary large barrel of beer. And of course, as they go inverted at the top there, hanging momentarily in their straps, a little bit of negative G and weightlessness, and then back into the positive domain. Leading the team, Nigel Reed has been involved in flying from a very young age and got a lot of experience from his father, who was an engineer with flight refueling, and also the family Gypsy Moth as well. So it gives you a great start in life if you want to be an aviator. Climbing into all sorts of vintage cockpits of the day of his father, Meteors and Canberras and Sea Vixens, and got the nose for the job. Both John and Nigel joined ATC squadrons in their local areas. Nigel along the coast in Poole. Those days flying Chipmunks, and lucky enough to get his license at 18. Nigel, however, decided to go with the Air Force as his flying career, whereas John essentially went into commercial flying of different types before they both went on into larger commercial flying activities. Initially, Nigel was involved with the Hunter on the tactical weapons course at Brawdy, but then moved on to the Jaguar, serving over in Bruggen and Coltishore, before then joining commercial aviation, flying the Boeing 75, 74 and 77 series. Now, as they come in opposition, they'll be pulling up into what we call a quarter clover, where they just put in a little jinx of about 90 degrees to one side. A little turn coming in, there it is, just turning in now, and then they pull underneath themselves, a little bit of weightlessness, pulling the G, checking the wings are level behind them, and out on what we call the B axis, flying away from you. Putting up now into another one of those stall turns we described earlier on in the day. They almost let the aircraft run completely out of vertical speed, and as it does, they put a boot full of rudder in together on the call from Nigel and turn the aircraft on its side through 180 degrees. All coordinated use of rudder and aileron to hold or initiate these various maneuvers. Pitching up now, they're putting another little twist at the top, and there you see it, before then pulling over and executing it. So a perfect way to change direction. Unlike Nigel, John didn't go into the Air Force as a pilot, but started life as a scientist working with Ministry of Defence establishments. But during that time, got into flying Chipmunks, Tiger Moths, and a few other aircraft. and then before getting into some commercial work with the Scottish Fisheries Protection Agency, before then moving on to British Midlands, flying the Boeing 737. Putting over the top once again. Again, it's a lovely maneuver. And you can see the synchronicity they're aiming for, all down to replication of flying control inputs. As they pull up here once again, that's when the G comes on. You imagine you're all at 1G at the moment, so if we would put a force on you, pushing you into the ground, that would increase. And they increase it to around 3-4 times your body weight. And that requires a little straining maneuver to stop the blood running down to your legs. And when they go upside down, of course, then the reverse happens and all the blood goes to your head. That's not quite as pleasant. So here they're coming positioning now for their final pass. Once again, a great opportunity to show your appreciation as Nigel brings the formation background. In fact, of course, I'd forgotten they were going to do the heart as well, which is their final maneuver. So here for everybody on the ground, a lovely opportunity to give your partners, friends a smile and a hug. And also offer our thanks to all the wonderful staff from Torbay Council who've worked hard all weekend to bring this outstanding, safe and very enjoyable 3 days, and perfectly executed by Nigel and Dottie there. And that is them complete, and they'll be making their way back to base this afternoon with just 3 items left of this fantastic English Riviera Airshow, and a most enjoyable weekend it's been. And you hear a lot of chitter-chatter going on behind me here as we talk to all the pilots, all queuing up to come and entertain you. Well, I think just a couple of minutes to go till we see this next aircraft. Again, very much in the training world, but more of a heavyweight activity in the guise of a Harvard, a great trainer for warbird activity. So I've just heard the magic words that the aircraft's been cleared to display and the pilot is running in. This aircraft was primarily used to train Navy pilots and many other pilots around the world, of course, but this is the US version of the very successful Harvard family, dating back to the 1930s. You hear the roar of the yet another Pratt & Whitney engine, this time a 600 horsepower 1340. Please welcome Al McLaren in the Navy Wings Harvard. Lovely throaty roar to that. It's a meter machine, isn't it? You can see it's big and tough and ideal for taking a lot of punishment, particularly by a bunch of students going through their initial flying training. Over 17,000 of these were built either as Harvards for the British and Commonwealth Air Forces or with deck hooks for the US Navy, or T6 Texans as they were known for the US Army. Very much a firm favorite with many pilots. Lovely big roomy cockpit, good strong robust flying machine. Recognised very much as the standard stepping stone trainer for all larger engine warbirds. It provides a wonderful prospective warbird pilot with a heavier handling piston experience, as well as a great training and assessment aircraft as well. All these maneuvers pretty much in the standard pocketbook of most experienced pilots. A series of loops and rolls and wing overs. As always, it's about the precision. Flying them more accurately and as precise as possible is the art of most display pilots. A little bit of breeze now, a little bit stronger early on, going what we call off crowd towards the aircraft. So he'll be making just a few fine adjustments to bring it back into the display line. Nowadays, Hal's working as the Flight Operations Director. He joined the Royal Navy straight from school in 1978 and was selected for fast jet training on the newly acquired Sea Harrier fighter, and what a machine that was. He finished his training during the Falklands conflict itself, just in time to join 809 Naval Air Squadron and go south on the newly commissioned HMS Illustrious to relieve Invincible, which remained on station after the Falklands surrender period. Went on to fly further frontline tours with 801 and 800 Naval Air Squadron as an air warfare instructor. And then became a staff pilot on 899 Training Squadron, where he displayed the Sea Harrier for 2 years, earning a Queen's Commendation for valuable services in the air. Like many, he left the military to start a commercial career with British Airways, flying a range of commercial aircraft, becoming the chief pilot of BA's regional carrier BA City Express. Navy Wings now operating as a charitable trust, preserving a lot of really outstanding examples of Fleet Air Arm aircraft at Royal Navy Air Station in Yeovilton. Always on the lookout for extra help, volunteers and donations, so please check out their website at Navy Wings. We were hoping very much to get the Seafire with us today, which he would normally be flying as well, but sadly wasn't able to do that. But his second favourite is the Harvard, which we see here today. He's very proud to be involved with that after all the experience. And interesting enough, a little snippet of fact about Al. On the 6th of June 1983, he led a 2-aircraft surface search mission in which his wingman got lost and landed on a small Spanish container ship. If you check out the Alrego incident, you might get more information about that. I certainly remember it well, but many of you youngsters may not, and it's quite a story. Anyway, back to the Harvard, just enjoying this lovely throaty roar from this Pratt & Whitney engine. Not just a trainer though, it could be armed with 3 7.62 machine guns, able to cruise at 170 and fly as fast as 200 miles an hour, with a range of around 750 miles. Can be a bit twitchy on the runway, most pilots report, with no potential for ground looping. That is basically doing a loop on the ground rather than in the air. But it's a great machine, supercharged, constant speed prop, retractable undercarriage. And a really, really good trainer. If you've not flown, if you're from the helicopter background or maybe fast jets, and you've never flown tail wheels, many will go back to start and retrain on the Chipmunk. The BBMF have 2 Chipmunks, and the Navy also have access to a couple as well. And then once you've got used to that, you'd move on to this particular aircraft before considering flying the likes of the Spitfire, Hurricane or P-51 Mustang. But Al now coming to the end of this display, and hopefully we'll give you a little flyby. So boys and girls, mums and dads, do give Alistair McLaren a super wave off from this delightful venue here at the English Riviera Airshow. Well done, Al. Super flying. Great to see the Harvard. Really, really distinctive sound. Marvellous. Okay, just 2 to go now. Rip-roaring display coming up next, and then it's time for the Typhoon. I'll be joined by a special guest in a moment to talk us through what always proves to be a rip-roaring experience. Richard Goodwin never hangs back, always pushing the limits and pushing the edge. A very tenacious pilot indeed. So that's coming up in just about a minute or so's time. I can hear a bit of chatter on the radio, which is always good news. So now you hear the roar. Take a look over to your right-hand side and you'll see an aircraft on its side. And that is unusual, but not for Richard Goodwin. It's not, because this is his trademark arrival. A knife-edge pass, literally on its side, smoke on. And again, once again, all that environmentally friendly stuff, and the meaty engine cutting in there. What a stunning arrival that is. And that distinctive sound that added to the engine there was the sound of two little jet engines which are propelling up skyward and enabling to hover just like a Harrier. But instead this time he bends it back over his head, remains inverted for a little while, hanging in his in his seat belts. And he's really ratcheted in tight, because when he winds this aircraft up, I tell you, it's like sitting inside a washing machine. So I'm delighted to be joined by his chief engineer today, who's helped design and improve and amend and modify this aircraft to what it is today, Colin Hales. And he'll be telling us a little bit more about the detail of this massively powerful aircraft and hugely capable pilot all at the same time. Not easy. He will make it look easy, but I can assure you there's years and years of aviation practice, aerobatic, as we go through this hesitation 360-degree roll. Richard Goodwin has got flying in his DNA. His father was a well-known hunter display pilot, and Richard spent many years normally the right side up, but here now in a flat turn of around 270 degrees. Colin, this is an exceptional machine. Tell us a bit about it.
Good afternoon, George, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Pitts Special you see in front of you, I classify it as a hybrid aircraft, because not only has it got a piston engine driving the main propeller, but we've also put on two Lynx turbine engines, jet engines, to give it the extra thrust. That means we have more thrust than weight, so this aircraft can climb forever and hover as well.
And that is truly exceptional. I mean, this isn't a massive jet, which you might expect to see going straight up to 10,000 feet. This is a small, light, sports aerobatic aircraft. The design goes right back to the 1940s. The guy called Curtis Pitts came up with it to basically design something that would win aerobatic competitions. And wow, he really did conceive it. But this is no average Pitts Special. Not just the engine, but I understand you've played quite extensively with the airframe too, Colin.
Indeed, along with the engine, which is pushed to the limits with regards of cold air induction systems and advanced exhaust systems, this aircraft has got virtually the biggest flight controls we can have on this size of aircraft to give the ability for Richard to do these remarkable maneuvers. And as you mentioned, Richard is ratchet strapped into the aircraft. Normal seat belts or straps are not sufficient for pushing -4 G. So indeed, Richard is ratchet strapped in so he can hardly breathe. And if he can breathe, then the straps aren't done strong enough.
But Richard loves, I know him well, and he loves to push to the limits, doesn't he? He's always trying to get another sort of 1% performance out of an aircraft, and himself. Now that noise is very distinctive.
Indeed it is, and this manoeuvre we call the Christmas tree. I know it's a long time from Christmas, another 100 or so shopping days, but he's climbing, getting tighter and tighter until he becomes the star at the top of the tree, and then he'll do a flat spin down the centre of the smoke, if the smoke doesn't blow away, which actually creates the trunk of the tree. So he'll try and bring the aircraft to a halt at the top, and then he'll do a flat spin down through the centre of the smoke he's created. Many aerobatic aircraft can do tight manoeuvres descending, but not many aircraft can do tight manoeuvres ascending.
Yeah, it's terrific with all that power. So total power then on this is what?
Well, the piston engine produces 1,500 pounds of thrust, and the two Lynx jet engines attached to the side produce another 350 pounds each. So that's another 700, so approximately 2,200 pounds of thrust.
That is just absolutely extreme, isn't it? Absolutely amazing.
It is when the aircraft only weighs about 1,800 pounds. So as we say, we have more thrust than the weight of the aircraft.
And you can always see, those of you that know pit specials, just the size of the upper wing itself really stands out as being substantially larger. With that, of course, are increased aileron sizes as well, which helps to achieve the rate of roll and maneuverability of the aircraft.
Indeed, we were asked if one of the jet engines flames out, can Richard remain in control of the aircraft? But the flight controls on this aircraft are so monumentally large, we have so much authority that if we do have one of the engines flame out, we can keep control of the aircraft.
Well, I love the tumble there, just on the side of the aircraft, absolutely terrific stuff. The control changes and inputs are very, very rapid, and Richard goes through real extremes of G, from high positive G, like now as he's pulling up there around 4 or 5 G, and then when he spins it, rolls it, goes invited, then of course he's basically experiencing negative G and a very, very quick moment, rapid changes, very hard on the body.
Indeed, obviously we've had the winter break, but Richard can't just go straight back into these type of maneuvers without actually rebuilding his G tolerance, as it's stated. He's been in the gym all through the winter and done many practice sessions to build back up his G tolerance to be able to do these maneuvers.
Absolutely, very, very essential stuff indeed. You've got to keep fit, you've got to do a lot of weight training and exercise. No comfort like the Red Arrows pilots with their G pants, which help suppress the effects. So something special coming up now. And there, a classic hover maneuver, that distinctive sound from the two jet engines.
But this aircraft isn't a helicopter. When it goes into the hover, a helicopter has a tail rotor to stop the rotation of the aircraft. But this aircraft doesn't have a tail rotor, so when it is in a pure hover, the piston engine propeller is turning the aircraft one way, so the torque reaction rotates the aircraft in the opposite direction. And there's nothing you can do to stop that.
No, it's just a wonderful looking maneuver as well, and without actually having to execute it yourself, other than holding it in the hover, of course, which he's doing once again now. He just loves this aircraft, and it is totally unique.
The aircraft is rather a thirsty aircraft. Richard will be using 60 litres of the jet turbine fuel that we use on board. He'll be using 40 litres of smoke oil and about 20 litres of the aviation gasoline that's required. So the aircraft will lose a lot of its actual mass during this 8-minute display.
Yeah, and that's a lot of ergonomics in the cockpit as well, isn't it? To be working 3 different systems.
Absolutely. You've not only the piston engine throttle, but you've got the smoke to switch on and off, and you've also got the gas turbine engines to monitor and control. And as we say, we have 3 different tanks in the aircraft. We have the aviation gasoline for the piston engine, we have the turbine fuel for the jet engines, and also the smoke tank for the white smoke that you see emanating from the exhaust.
That's an awful lot of switchery and leverage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you were to look inside the aircraft, if you ever get the opportunity or chance, it really is quite complicated in there with so many controls and pipes and hoses going everywhere.
Now the jet engines are slightly sort of cantilevered out, aren't they? And is that after years of trying to get the balance of thrust correct?
Not only the balance of thrust, but also not to melt the tailplanes.
Ah, of course. That's key information, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
So the airspeed of the jet efflux, as we say, is about 0.86 Mach. So we just need to direct the heat of the engines away from the tailplane.
Right. So there they are again. You can hear them burning. And if you've got binos or a telephoto lens, then you'll be able to pick those little jet engines out just forward of where Richard is sitting in the cockpit. I mean, it must be absolutely exhausting to be going through this routine, and I would imagine a inverted rest is quite pleasant at times.
I can't do what he does. I simply can't. I wouldn't even try to do what he does. It's
And there
an
you see,
amazing
pushing
pilot.
the stick away from before he went into the snap rolls, pushing the stick away, so bearing negative G as well at the same time, and then racking into positive G within a microsecond.
And indeed, unlike the Typhoon you're about to see in the next display, Richard hasn't got a G suit to control the blood flow through his body. So when he pulls the +6 or -4 G, he is feeling every one of those throughout his whole body.
Well, now he can see you. He's looking out the top of his canopy, be able to get a good look at you on his classic knife edge pass. And throughout the course, despite that power, they're all pilots in the aerobatic world will use the descents to add a bit more energy and speed to enable them to easily complete the next upward maneuver.
But it does help if you have 700 pounds of extra thrust at hand.
It is quite exceptional. It's extraordinary. You're virtually up at cloud base there already.
And that, I believe, is the end of this performance, and off he goes to Exeter.
Well, that was just absolutely splendid. Yes, I just hear him calling clear now. Colin, it's wonderful to have that insight from you. I've little doubt that he'll give you a few more chores when you get back to Gloucester.
Absolutely. And I don't want to go through the sponsors, but we are so glad to have them on board this year for 2026 because they really do help with the running of the cost of the aircraft, and without them we couldn't bring it to you today.
Well, absolutely right, and we thank them all. It's people like them that keep the whole air display business going.
Absolutely.
So,
thank you, George.
Yeah, no, real pleasure, Colin. Have a safe trip home.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Well, if that wasn't exciting enough, then have we got the finale of all finales? Just a fantastic opportunity now for you to savour the might and power of the frontline capability from the Royal Air Force. It's a really outstanding machine in so many different ways and means. Massive weapon carrying capability. And of course, just the airframe and energy itself it provides from those EJ 200 turbojets. Phenomenal machine. Top speed of twice the speed of sound, around 1,500 miles an hour. Fitted with radar, with infrared search and track equipment, and a defensive aid system as well. Literally feet off to 50,000 feet in just barely a minute or two, and reaching altitudes of around 65,000 feet. Carrying ASRAM, AMRAM, Storm Shadow, Meteor, Brimstone, and Paveway for laser-guided 500-pound GPS bombs. If that wasn't enough, it's got the 27mm Mauser cannon fitted as well, and those jets providing 40,000 pounds of thrust. Here we are. And a massive welcome to this year's Royal Air Force Typhoon display pilot, call sign Dragon 1, piloted by Flight Lieutenant Tom Nation, a flying instructor on 29 Squadron based at RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire. Well, that certainly gets your attention, doesn't it? And it don't get many opportunities to say a lot during the course of a Typhoon display. It's so much in your face. And look at as it goes round the turn here, you'll see the afterburners. And that's what 40,000 pounds of thrust looks like. Flying off to our right-hand side in his trademark double corkscrew. It's a very, very aggressive display, this. Flying sadly limited to around 600 miles an hour because that's the speed limit around the UK for these sort of jets, but pulling up to 9G and hitting minus 3G in parts as well. Coming round through, flying through a hesitation roll. Dubbed by his son as the Reuben maneuver, positioning the aircraft flying through there at around 500 miles an hour. Now inverted there, well, he's pushing the stick away from him, so not totally inverted, but a painful negative G turn there of around minus 3. Now accelerating the jet back up, and positive G comes back on. Very tight max rate turn. Scattering seagulls all over the sky. Phenomenal stuff. They're doing their own display now, but luckily staying well out of the way because, of course, jets are vulnerable to that sort of seabird activity. We'll be keeping a close eye on that from down here. Now putting up into a very fast rolling maneuver. Still pulling the G now, still up around 9G as he goes thundering past us. Hanging in his straps. Repositioning now, just slowing down just a tiny bit, not a great deal. Coming back in for a barrel roll. Again, you've seen a few of these today. This one, very different, of course, pulling it right up, uses up a bit more sky, but a very, very graceful maneuver. But overall, the Typhoon is exceptional in using half the space that a Gen 3, Gen 4 jet would be using. Max reheat once again exiting from that. Coming back into another max rate turn, pulling 9G all the way around. His body weighing as much as a Formula One car. Slowing the jet down a little bit now. Not a lot, but just enough for a few rolls. Coming out of this now he'll pull the throttles way back, put the Typhoon into what we call a high alpha position, and that is basically the nose way up, just on the edge of the airflow breaking away from the upper wing, but not enough to stall the aircraft. Exceptional that an aircraft of this magnitude, capability and power that flies at twice the speed of sound can now fly at around 130 miles an hour. Holding this right on the balance between the speed and the thrust of the engines. Few little digital assistants on board as well, telling him what the parameters are, making sure it's pretty impossible to make a fault in the aircraft with the computation. The canards on the front end there, you see, working away, twitching to maintain stability. Throttles ray forward now to max phenomenal power, winding up again to get that 40,000 pounds of thrust. Coming back round now for a double aileron roll. Now really winding the jet up, getting it up to the max speed possible. And now his finale, not just his, but ours at this English Riviera Airshow. You've been watching Flight Lieutenant Tom Nation and the Royal Air Force Typhoon. And what a way to end what has been 3 days of fantastic flying. Really outstanding. The weather has been kind to us, absolutely superb conditions, and our grateful thanks to all the staff, the volunteers, the helpers that have made this a tremendous few days. A very festive feel now to this wonderful air show here. A lot of music, a lot of fun, a lot of activities going on the greens as well. And grateful thanks to all the partners and sponsors as well that have made this such a successful weekend. That is, of course, the combination of the Torbay Council. And a shout out for Phil Black there and his team for getting us through this safely and effectively this weekend with all the challenges they face, as you can see going on with the sea defences still being built. But alongside them, the English Riviera Bids Company, the guardian of the English Riviera brand, Big Wave Media, Barnes Aerospace, Great Western Railway, and Speedwell Kia. Thank you so much for all your support here. We hope to keep this show going for many, many more years to come. Please make sure you take all your belongings with you and your rubbish as well. Please dispose of that responsibly. Plenty of receptacles for it. If not, just take it home. But the whole flying program today managed by Dave Walton and his team from TSA upstairs in our cabin. The sound provided by WEA Audio, and our thanks to Wayne and his family for getting us through this weekend without any interruptions whatsoever. And please, I suggest you perhaps make the most of this sunshine that's just come out now to grace us and enjoy the rest of the evening rather than queue up on the roads. But if you are, go carefully, and please listen to and take the orders from the stewards around the site, and make sure, again, you look after the children and any vulnerable aging adults you may have with you as well. Go safely. I'm known as Smokey, and I hope to be back next year. You all have a great week ahead. Many thanks. Goodbye.